So I am with Joyce. What's your last name, Joyce? Baldwin. You're so same as Nolan. Okay.
Yep.
So now Joyce is a sister of my grandpa George.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's the only surviving one.
Exactly.
The only living one out of a total of 11. Is that right?
11.
And so you're the
holdout.
You're the holdout. Yes. Take your time. So good for you. Yeah. All right, go ahead and
Okay, so I just want to explain. This is your Grandpa George.
Wow.
That's Grandpa George.
Yeah.
I'll go down from the oldest to the youngest.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay.
So this is Ernest, or Ernie, we called him.
Yeah.
He was a Lutheran pastor.
Okay.
Okay. And then Clara was this second child. Clara, she married someone named Apple.
Okay.
Okay. And then...
Clara and Apple. Apple was the last name?
Apple was the last name.
Okay.
A-P-P-E-L. Okay, then Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
McIver.
Yeah.
Then Ruby Risser.
Yeah.
And then she married somebody else. I'm trying to think of his last name right now. Welkin was her last husband.
Okay. Yeah.
And Mildred, who is this Russell that you've heard about?
Yes. Yeah.
Your cousin or second cousin Russell,
yeah,
who lives in Texas. Him. Okay.
Yes.
Wait a minute. No. I got that wrong. Mildred is Wright. W-R-I-G-H-T.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Russell is actually Irvin's son. But let me start again. Okay. Ernie, Clara, Margaret, Ruby, Mill, George, Harvey, Irvin, Richard, Joyce, and Marvin.
Okay. So just between yesterday and today, now that's
my
Gust.
dad,
Yeah.
Gustav, and Olga.
Okay. Oh, wow. So I've got lots of pictures of them, but that's great to see that. So that's Gustav and Olga. So yeah, today I went to their graves. They're in Hillside Cemetery.
Yeah.
And right next to them, on one side is George, my grandfather.
Right.
And on the other side is Margaret.
Yes.
Mr. McIver. Margaret McIver.
Okay.
And so she's on the other side. And then Ruby is very close. She's like just a few rows away.
Right. And with her husband,
yes.
Roland.
Yes, with Roland.
Risser.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. And then I've also seen the graves of Richard and Harvey. Richard's over at Memory Gardens.
Right.
It's a different cemetery.
Right.
So I saw that last night.
Okay.
With Nolan. Nolan and I went over there.
Yeah, he mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was at, I think, Richard's funeral, and was he a pallbearer?
Richard's funeral is where your dad Denny and Nolan got to know each other.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they had this association over dogs. You know.
Yes. And the Bloodhound search dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, the search dogs. Denny did a lot of that. He did well. Now, what do you have questions?
Well, I'm taking it all in right now.
Right. Okay.
This is incredible.
Okay, so,
now Marvin just passed away. Is that right?
Within the last 2 years, and I'm sad to tell you. Do you have a religious background?
Baptist Christian.
Okay, good. I have good Baptists next door.
Okay.
But Marvin got tangled up, fell in love with a woman named Dolores, and they were invited to a Bible study in the neighborhood, and they got sucked into the Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, really? Okay.
I could weep over that.
Yeah.
He died a Jehovah's Witness, not believing that Jesus ever lived, died, or rose again, you know?
Boy, no kidding.
Well, I mean, he was baptized Lutheran and all that. We all were.
Yeah.
But let me see. There's so much I want to tell you, and I've been running it through my mind. Anyway, Are you interested in their occupations, what they did?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm interested in whatever you can tell me.
Okay. So Ernie, I told you, was a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Clara, Margaret, and Ruby were teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And Mill was a nurse, and she served in the army in the Korean War, I think, or maybe World War II, both.
Right.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
George, do you know the story of how Helen and he were married?
No, I don't.
Okay. For whatever, I don't know if they met in school or if it was just a neighborhood thing, but George fell in love with Helen,
My grandmother. Yeah.
And Helen was 16 and he was 19.
Okay.
That was way too young to get married, really.
Sure.
And then, however, I was 19 when I got married, and it lasted 63 years. So.
Well, you did something right. Good for you.
Anyway, so then shortly after...
So now where are you in this picture?
Right here.
That's you. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Somehow after their marriage, Carl Bresky got this job wanted to move to International Falls, Minnesota, where he worked in a paper mill, or at least there was a paper mill there.
Sure. Yeah.
And because Helen was only 16, probably going on 17 by then, they didn't want to leave her here, so they took Helen and George with them, and Carol, who was probably a baby by in that time.
Sure. Yeah.
And they moved to International Falls, and I don't know exactly everything that George did, but I know that he was a taxi driver, and he worked nights. One night he stopped home unexpectedly, and Helen was in bed with another man.
Oh, really?
And that upset him to the point that he joined the service. And then, like I said, he went to France, was in France as well. He was actually wounded at Brest, France. I hear you have the background on him, a letter that he wrote.
A little bit, yes. So I have his flag with the Purple Heart pinned to it, and then I have a letter. I wished I would have brought a copy of it with me.
No problem.
But
I'm sure I've read
I can send it to you. But it's a letter that he wrote back home.
Right, telling us.
Yeah, that he
he
took a bullet and whatever. Yeah.
Right, I got mine in the back.
That's right, exactly. That's exactly right.
So my memory is not all that bad.
Oh, that's very good.
I just have these little lapses occasionally. Well, anyway, so then I don't know if he went directly into the service. It was World War II.
Yeah.
So he may have. But then when he returned, or was it even when he was before he went in, he had this habit of promising things to his kids. I think because he had moved out of the house or something, and he would supposedly meet them on the corner, but then it didn't happen. And so that made the kids bitter, and I don't blame them one bit.
Sure.
And then Helen, I don't know if she married that man. All I know is that Denny, your dad, hated him with a passion. He wasn't the man that Helen lived with, or I suppose married, whatever.
So this wasn't Helen's second husband, Selden, was it?
You know, I'm not sure of that. Say that name again.
Selden Gowdy?
Selden Gowdy.
Yeah.
That name rings a bell.
So before all that happened, they had George and Helen would have had Carol, Barb, and Kenny, and my dad, right?
Yes.
The four children.
Yep.
So was that all before he went into the service, or was it afterwards, or do you know?
Oh, it had to have been afterwards.
Yeah, right.
No, it had to have been before. It had to have been before.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I don't think he and Helen were together after that where he found her with another man.
Right. So if
That's
that
what I
happened,
think.
if that happened before he went into the service,
Right.
then that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that I'm quite sure.
Unless he came home to, and stayed married for a while. But then Helen's second husband was Selden Gowdy, and they had the children.
Yeah, somebody named Maxine.
Yeah, Maxine. She's there in International Falls still, and then Bob, Jim.
Okay, see, I never ever met them.
Yeah.
In those days, a trip from Valley City to Ariska, maybe 15 miles, was a major.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
A major trip.
Yeah.
So I don't remember ever going or my folks going to International Falls to see any of these kids, and yet we must have, because they came to my mom's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my dad's too, for all I know.
Yeah. Wow.
So, anyway, and then in George's early years, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but number one, he and my dad didn't get along very well. Mm-hmm. And then George had scarlet fever. And in those days, that was a biggie.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of what like strep throat is now, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It can do big damage.
It's the same thing, yeah.
I didn't wipe my table very good. Anyway, so I think because of that, my mom, and the fact that Dad and him didn't get along very well, I think my mom kind of favored George, or always really looked out for him. My mom was such a kind lady. And quiet, and that her parents gave her away. So she was not actually raised totally by the Prebes.
Right.
She was married, they said she ran, some cousin of mine said she kind of ran away, and a family named Baller, or a couple named Baller, which Mom would refer to as auntie and uncle. Baller is the way I spell it.
Never heard that before. Huh.
Okay, so my mom, if people ask me her maiden name, it's Prebe Baller, because she was born a Prebe, but they just let her be raised by someone else.
Huh. I was looking up here, so let's go here. You can keep talking. I was just looking up. I was gonna see if you ever saw a picture that I have of.
Okay, I don't remember.
Your mom.
I don't remember auntie and uncle if I ever saw them.
Ballers, yeah, I never.
I know you probably never heard of that, but that.
Right.
That is my mother's. That's who really raised her in the end. How old would she have been then? Boy, that's what I don't know, because I think she and Dad. Golly.
Huh.
I don't know how. I don't know when. Yes. Wait. There's an estranged. Harvey married a widow with 2 children, Barry and Julie. And Barry had MS and died within the last 2 years or so.
Okay.
In Valley City. Now, for whatever reason, Julie has, I kind of know why. She kind of resented, I think, the fact that we weren't as attentive to Barry as we should have been through his illness. And it wasn't an on-purpose thing. It was just that we had our own family. Everybody had their own family, and you just,
That's a picture of your mom on her.
Oh yeah, that's a nice picture of her.
So I've got in some of my dad's stuff he gave me. I've got this one in a frame, and there's a bunch of other family pictures.
Okay.
That I don't even, I'm gonna have to scan them and stuff and see about identifying them.
So Mom's name, I think, was Olga Caroline Minnie.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard
I
the
think
Minnie
Minnie
before.
was in there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
I hadn't heard that part.
Right.
Wow.
I have macular degeneration in this eye and
Uh-huh.
glaucoma, so sometimes
Oh, yeah.
the light gets to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, what else can I tell you? The last time George, he actually came and spent a weekend with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, just because he wanted to visit, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I didn't really have a lot in common with him. George had a beautiful singing voice. Oh, it was just beautiful.
Wow.
And he was a real charmer. You know, he could charm the ladies into believing almost any story he wanted.
Oh, really?
In fact,
that's
this is a crude way to put it, but someone said that George Adams could charm a fly off a gut wagon. That's a terrible, icky thing to say. But I mean, he was very sociable.
Yeah.
Very sociable.
Yeah, very interesting.
And I don't know if Nolan had a chance to tell you, but there's a letter that I found in some of my stuff that was written to someone named Carol, Korl. It was written by some kind of a person that knew of the Adamses, because my dad's had two brothers, I know for sure, that came over here. One was Otto. No, wait. One was not Otto. August and Emil.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think they settled on the West Coast.
Wow.
But whereas I thought that he was fully German, he's actually German and English. So Nolan has that letter scanned into the computer, and I want him to send it to you so you can read it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yep.
So, yeah, and what Nolan was telling me is that where he was born was Germany, but now it's considered Poland.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And that he spoke like 5 languages or parts or something.
What's interesting is that in Valley City, the hospital there got a patient in with a foreign patient, and nobody could understand what he was saying or anything. And somebody in that, one of the nurses or something knew of Gus Adams, and they said, let's get Gus Adams in here and see if he can communicate with him. And to my knowledge, he did.
Wow.
But I don't know in what fashion or anything.
Yeah. Huh.
My dad was 16 when he came over from Germany. He did not speak the language. And
what language? English?
He didn't speak the English language.
Okay.
And there was a lot of things he didn't know. I remember once in my growing up years, he was sitting at the table eating and he licked his knife, and I said, you know, Dad, that's not a good thing to do. And he thanked me for telling him that.
Right. Yeah.
So there were things he just didn't know, you know.
Sure, yeah, didn't know the local customs and stuff.
Right, he said for 2 years I listened to learn the language. So,
boy, he sounds like a brilliant guy.
You know what? I wish I had listened to him more, because during those growing up years, for me and the others as well, he liked to drink. Now, Nolan thinks he was an alcoholic. I don't. I think he just plain liked his booze. And because he did veterinary work and didn't charge people very much, when he would go to Valley City, or to town as we say, they would say, come on, Gus, we'll buy you a drink.
Yeah.
So he would get what we would call a snootful, and then he'd come home, and then he would talk about his life in Germany and different things like that, and none of us wanted to listen. Besides which, during World War II, nobody wanted to be German. We did not want to admit that we had any German connections, and yet we were.
Yeah.
I thought we were solid German until I've got that letter. Do you want me to go get it?
Sure, of course, I would love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta just steady myself.
Take your time. Take your
The
time.
thing is, I've had some blood pressure that's low. But I'll be right back.
I'm going to go ahead and stop this for now, and then
Do you
we'll
want some
restart.